Hi, this is James from BecauseYouWantedToKnow.com, and today's video is on internet privacy, kind of a discussion about internet privacy. One of the reasons I wanted to do a video on internet privacy is this. I did a video on Windows 10, and it was entitled, Windows 10, is your privacy safe? And there was about 50,000 views on it. And the response, it was kind of a mixed response. You probably had 50% of the people who said, you know what, yeah, they're downloading my data, they're putting it in servers, or they're using it for advertising purposes, but you know what, hey, it's the way it is, I don't care, I'm not doing anything wrong. And then you had probably 25% of people who were like, oh, this is BS, this is horrible, this is New World Order time. This is Terminator, Terminator Genesis time, And I think that was going too far. But then you had another 25% of people that were kind of really very thoughtful about it. And they put in some comments that really got me thinking as far as what the implications are of where we're going as far as the internet and privacy and everything else like that. And is there really any privacy at all? So those 25% of people that were kind of sending me comments and were kind of chatting back and forth, I'm not going to say that they've changed my mind on some things, but they've given me kind of an insight to say, hey, wait a minute, there could possibly be some repercussions of what we're allowing to happen as a society in regards to our privacy. Now, there was another thing that I saw that really kind of got me thinking about this also. And it was, I'd probably say it kind of spurred me to make this video. I was watching Netflix, and there was a show, it was Frontline from PBS, but it was a show called The United States of Secrets, and it was a Frontline special. And if you have any interest at all in privacy, any interest at all in your data and the internet and all of those types of things, I would definitely suggest watch this show. I think you can watch it on PBS, and it is on Netflix. So again, Frontline, United States of Secrets. What it has to do with is, it starts off with Edward Snowden. Edward Snowden was the NSA employee who released a whole bunch of information to the public about the gathering up of data by the NSA after 9/11. So if you don't know the whole story, basically let me give it to you in a really short capsulized area. 9/11 happens. The government decides that, hey, we need to be able to know if terrorists are plotting things. And we can't just know as far as in other countries. We need to know if there's actually any terrorists here and if they're plotting things. So they embarked upon a program in order to capture all of the data from everyone, mine, yours, terrorists, priests, pastors, teachers, lawyers, everybody. They embarked upon a program to capture everyone's internet browsing data. And it wasn't just the internet browsing data. It was any Skype calls, almost any type of digital data. So even your voice calls, because calls now are not analog, they're digital. So calls, text messages, voicemails, internet browsing data, emails, instant messages, all of that data from almost everyone was being gathered up by the government. Now, there wasn't some person there that was just sitting there on a screen, looking through people's stuff. It was kind of going through filters and encryption and this and that, and they were looking for what's called certain tags. So, a tag could probably be, this person is mentioning this particular site, and it's a sensitive site, and they keep mentioning it over and over and over again. Let's take a closer look. Or this person is mentioning things about jihad, and they're mentioning it over and over and over again. And, and just to be fair, this particular American keeps mentioning as far as, acquiring fertilizer and, this and this and this, kind of like in the Timothy McVeigh thing. So let's take a look at that. So that's what it was designed for, and as far as the government says, it was useful. But the whole thing really became a real firestorm after Edward Snowden released all this information. So much so that there was a certain point in the Bush administration to where a good portion of the Justice Department, the acting Attorney General, the counsel for the Attorney General's office, and a number of other employees were literally one day from resigning, unless there were certain things in this program that were fixed. So it was even controversial within the government. It was very, very, very secret, very controversial. And when Edward Snowden released the information, all of a sudden it was a big firestorm. Now, this was not a partisan issue. If you look at the program when George W. Bush talked about it on TV, he minimized what it was, and he did. But by the same token, when you look at President Obama and how he talked about the program, he minimized it also. Neither one of those presidents went into the full extent as to which our data was being gathered. Neither one of them did. So it's not a partisan issue. It's more of a government issue and a government secrets issue. Okay. Now, what does all this mean? If you've watched any of my videos or if you've seen anything on the internet, as far as like Windows 10 gathering up your data, and what it's basically doing is Windows 10, they gave it to most people for free because they're going into kind of a big advertising push. Well, they need to know about you in order to advertise you. So a lot of your data, including information that's in your private folders, in your emails, what things you're browsing for, and all of those things, that information is kind of being gathered up and stored in Microsoft's encrypted servers. Now, this has been happening. Google was probably the first ones to really start doing this on a wide scale, and they were doing it with their Gmail. One of the reasons they gave Gmail out for free was so they realized that a lot of times people write emails about things that they're interested in. And so every time you write an email and you send an email, that email is kind of scanned by Google in order to determine which ads will appear next to your inbox. That's how all those ads appear there. And they do it in a number of ways. So while you're browsing, and if there's any ads that need to appear, whatever the case may be, that comes from your browsing data. So Google was really one of the first ones to really start gathering up a lot of people's data and sorting it out and saying, well, here's what this person is thinking about, here's what this person is about, or whatever the case may be. Apple, same way. Microsoft is getting into the game. Microsoft has kind of stepped it up a little bit, is that they've made it such an integral part of their OS, where they have definitely taken a step above Google, because you always had the option, if you knew this information, you had the option to not use a Chrome browser. You had the option to not use Gmail. You had the option to not use a Google service because your data might not be, I'm not going to say safe. I think that's going too far. Your data might not just remain with you. Let's just say that. And so, but those were situations where those were programs that were actually used, and you really did have the option of not using it. Intertwining this with an OS is definitely a step up. It's definitely the next logical step, I guess you're going to say, in trying to gather up large amounts of metadata from people, large amounts of data mining. Because regardless of what you're doing on your computer, if you've upgraded to Windows 10, actually, let me change that. If you've upgraded to Windows 10 and you're using any of the Windows 10 besides the Enterprise version, the Enterprise version does give you some relief, by the way, because those are mainly for businesses. But if you're using anything other than Windows 10 Enterprise Edition, a lot of your data is being kind of captured, and unless you do something about it. And there are some things that you can do about it, and there's videos. I created a video also, but there are some videos of some things that you can do to kind of slow down the collection of your data. But here's where I think the real kind of issue is. Windows 10 is doing this. Now Microsoft is sending out updates to Windows 7 users and Windows 8 users that are also going to allow their data to be captured. This is something that I have a real problem with. And I almost feel that this is really bordering on being unethical, and this is why. Windows 10 was free to most people. And in the agreement that they signed, even though the agreement was 10 pages long, in the agreement that they signed, they agreed to allow this to happen. I mean, it's clearly stated. It's probably like on page 5, but it's clearly stated what they mean to do. Windows 7 wasn't that way, and neither was Windows 8. People paid for those programs. Either they paid for them, and that was part of the cost of a new computer, or they paid an upgrade price, or they paid an upgrade price, or they bought the OS off the shelf, non-upgrade, and either way, they paid for it. They didn't get it for free. And in their user agreement, nowhere did it say that they would agree to have their data, used in any way. So, all of a sudden, after the fact, Windows sends out some updates that allows them to capture data from Windows 7 users and Windows 8 users. I think that is fundamentally wrong. I can tell you what the updates were, and I'm not going to mention them in the video, but if you look down in the notes, I'll list what those updates are and when they came out. And if you want to go on your computer and delete them, you can do that. I can tell you, I think there will be more updates. I think it's going to be a continual process. I think Microsoft is committed to this. So that's not going to be the only update. It's going to be one of those you're going to have to watch every update that you allow in your computer. So, but I think there's kind of a real issue with now that this data is being captured. And let's give Microsoft the benefit of the doubt. Let's say that their sole purpose is just to use it just for advertising. And no one is looking at it with their eyes. It's all kind of, computer calculations and all of that kind of stuff. The fact of the matter, the data is there. And if the data is there, and we've all heard about the data breaches that have been going on, if the data is there, there is the possibility. And I'm going to go further than that. I'm going to say there's more than a possibility. I'm going to say there's a probability that at some point there's going to be a data breach. And that data is going to be in the public domain. Now, we already have a system set up for if our credit cards are stolen. If your bank account somehow falls in the wrong hands. There is a system already set up to handle that. And while it may be an inconvenience to you, for most people, the damage is mitigated by the fact that if you follow these steps with this system, you don't lose any money. The charges on your credit card are voided out. They give you a new credit card number, or the money in your bank account is put back and no problem. And so there you go. So those things are set up if that type of data is stolen. But there is no system that is really set up in order to deal with a data breach that involves personal conversations or personal emails or even ideas that a person may come up with. If I go and I write an email, let's say I come up with this great idea, and I write an email to some friends and say, hey, here's this idea for a product or for a service that I'm thinking about. What do you think of it? And all of a sudden, somebody else gets a hold of that email. Unless I've already patented the idea or copyrighted or whatever, if I haven't done any of those things, I really don't have any recourse. Because there could be some dispute of, well, who came up with the idea first or this or that. And even on the level of personal data, there is no system set up to make people forget a personal email that I wrote to someone, or that a personal email that was sent to me, or a complaint. There's a lot of things that are said between two people, or that could even be said between a group of people. Oh, I don't like the president, or oh, I don't like the governor, or I don't like this, or I don't like that, or whatever the case may be. And they fully expect for those things to remain completely private. And, there's no safety net for that. There's no system set up for that. So I believe that we have come to a point where there is no privacy on the internet. And it doesn't matter what OS you use. Yes, I think Windows has gone kind of off the reservation as far as privacy. But even if you're using Linux, I've had a lot of people after my Windows 10 videos say, well, use Linux, you won't have this problem. But guess what? While they're using Linux, they're sending the message to me in Facebook, or they're sending the message to me on Google+, or they're sending the message to me in YouTube, using the Google browser. So they're not protected either. They may be protected on an OS level, but the minute that you go out on the internet, the minute that you connect to the internet, just for you to be able to watch this video, your request to watch this video probably went through 10 different routers and servers. Once you're on the internet, the best that you could hope for, you don't have privacy. The best that you could hope for is anonymity. Surfing the internet is no different than walking down the street of New York. There is no privacy as you're walking down the street. There's cameras everywhere. There's people everywhere. But no one knows who you are. So you do have that anonymity, that you're just one of a million people. No one knows who you are, and maybe there's some sense, some comfort in that no one knows who you are. But you don't have privacy. And that's kind of the same thing concerning the internet. If you're looking for privacy, you're not going to find it on the internet, regardless of what you do. There is no amount of encryption that can't be broken. There's no amount of security that you could put on your system that could possibly somehow make it so that the government can't get your information if that's what you're concerned about. I'm making this video so that people know this may or may not be something that we can change. Obviously, if there's enough people, all this is economics driven. If there are enough people that are willing to say, I won't use this service, I won't use Facebook, I won't use Google, I won't use Windows unless I have this level of security, unless I have this level of anonymity, because you're not going to get privacy. But unless I have this level of anonymity, I won't use your service. Until there's a good number of people that take that stance, there's nothing that's going to change it. It just is going to get progressively worse. So we all as individuals, I have my view, and I want each individual person to have their own view. I'm not going to tell you what you should choose or what you should not choose. I just want to kind of inform people that, hey, this is what's going on. as far as the internet. This is what's going on as far as the modern world in which we live. And you need to decide. I don't think you get to decide whether or not you're going to be a participant in the future, in the world going forward. But you have to decide how you're going to participate. And you have to decide whether your privacy is worth some inconveniences. Because that's what it's going to come down to. It's not going to be convenient to remain private. It's not going to be convenient to remain anonymous. All of the convenience is geared towards, give and take. Hey, let me know your name. I'll make this easy for you. Let me know what you're browsing. I'll give you this free browser. Let me know what's in your private folders. I'll give you a free OS. That's what the deal is. And so we all have to kind of think about it and decide. I hope this video was helpful to you. If it was, please give me some comments. Tell me what you think, whether you agree or disagree. Please give me some comments. Give me a like, and please subscribe. Thank you very much for tuning in. Bye-bye.